And I'm back. And what I'm going to do here today is I'm going to do a little test pour of some concrete in this little box I'm making. Okay, so I just took some 3/4 inch plywood here. Okay, this is a birch veneer plywood. It's what I will be using for a larger mold if this works. And I'll show you just what I mean. One second. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making some concrete countertops in here. Okay, so I built these bottom base cabinets and I built the uppers, and what I'm getting ready to do here now is get ready to pour concrete countertops. Now there's two ways to do this. Sometimes people, what they'll do is they'll measure the area that they want to fill with a countertop, and they'll make a mold, and then they'll pour the concrete mix into it with their rebar and whatever, their reinforcing material inside of it. And then they'll strip the form once it's hardened, they'll flip it over, and then they'll bring it into place. Okay, so basically the bottom of what you've poured becomes the top of the countertop. Okay, now that's one way of doing it, but if you've got a large countertop, that's a lot of weight to move, okay, after the fact, especially if you're working alone, okay? The other way to do it is pour in place, which is probably what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna do that little test pour in a minute here, and I'll take you along with me to show you how I do that. Because what I might do is make forms on top of the countertop here in place, and then pour the actual concrete in place, and then trowel the surface, okay? So I'm trying to make a determination, especially. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to determine if this concrete mix that I have here, which is not actually the recommended countertop mix. This is Quick-Rite PSI 6000, so it's a high strength concrete mix. It's probably, they say it's double the strength of regular concrete. Now this will have an aggregate in it, okay? So this will have small rocks in it. Now what I've noticed with the countertop mix is it seems to be more like a pancake mix or something. It's got some aggregate in it, but it's mostly sand, I think, you know? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour this make this little test box, and we're gonna pour a sampling into it as if it was the full-size countertop. We're gonna let it set up. And then I'm going to see, you know, if it looks okay in the mold, once the mold's stripped off it, if it, you know, what the concrete looks like, how the aggregate shows through. And we'll walk you through the whole process. So we're going to do that. We're going to make the box. We're going to pour the concrete into it, and I'll show you later. I'm going to screed the top and trowel it off as if it was the finished countertop. And then once it's set in a day or so, we'll break the box off and we'll show you what that looks like. Okay? So let's just get that box made. So okay, I'm just going to drill some holes with a pocket hole jig, and so we can put this box together. I mean, you don't have to have a pocket hole jig. You can just nail or screw that together for a test if you're going to try the same thing here. Okay, so here's a little box. I put some silicone around the edge there. Now, I wasn't very careful with the silicone, and I hear that if you're, you know, if you want to turn this over and use the countertop like that, you've got to be really careful with the edge of that silicone, because that will be reflected in the concrete. It'll be a mirror image, of course, right? So, but for now, I'm just more or less doing a test here to see what the bottom of this is going to look like if it's just troweled off, and how this is going to look once I take it out of the form. So that's where I'm aiming. Here's the product again, Quick-Rite PSI 6000, and I got a bucket, I got my mixer on my drill, and what I'm going to do for a release agent on this, now this is a pretty slippery plywood. This is a birch veneer 3/4 plywood, and it's kind of slippery to start with, but I'm going to use a little air tool oil as a release agent on it for the concrete. Okay, so I'm just going to smear a little bit of that on there. Okay, and don't need too much of that. That's just what I happen to have on hand today, so that's what I'm going to use, and we'll see how that works. Put a little on the top there too. So basically what I've done is I've I've ripped these sides on a table saw, all the same height, so it'll be perfect to run a board across it to screed it. I wouldn't want it any wetter than that. Now, I'm gonna have to screed that off of there in a minute. I don't want any dry spots down against the wall either. That's the other thing. Oh, this is a magnesium trowel. Okay, I don't know if it's too early. I'm just going to try and move this a little bit. Let's see if I can straighten it out. I think it's still too soft. Yeah. Okay. Let's try a little. Let's see what happens. Still a little runny, I think. I'm not sure if those, that's the size of the aggregate causing those holes there, see? Might be too big an aggregate for a countertop. I guess it can be filled a little later. If this was the side that was left up. If it was the bottom, nobody cares, right? It's the other side that will be the top, so. Yeah. I think it's still a little too early for the trowel. Let me see here. I guess you could fill a little bit. I guess that's what they do. Fill a little bit of cement in there. Over it. Let's see. Oh, maybe. Not bad. I don't want to work it too much because I know it'll bring the aggregate to the surface. Okay, so it's been about 35 minutes since I poured it. Probably still not quite set enough. Now, there's some idea of the finish you can get on the top. Of course, once you've stripped the forms and you would sand it. So not bad, actually. That aggregate's not too bad. I'm not sure. Once we strip it, we'll see what the front looks like. But I'll check back with you tomorrow, and we'll strip that down. We'll take a look at it. That's all for now. See you tomorrow. Okay, so it's the next day. It's been about 18 hours since I poured this. I didn't trowel this perfectly, but that's actually not bad. Let's take a look and see what it looks like inside the form. See what the edges look like. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. All right. Now, that would almost be passable, you know, as a surface. It probably wants to be a bit smoother, but and those edges, you know, don't look too bad. I mean, there's a little bit of filling that would have to happen, but I think that's the case in most applications. Yeah, doesn't look too bad. Let's look at the other side. Okay. Let's look at that. Okay, now that's the side that was facing the form. That was the side that was down. That's quite a bit smoother. Yeah, I could see where that would be a better way to do it. And then these could be filled and then sanded out, I think. Yeah, that's way smoother. That's really a nice finish, actually. The only thing is now on this one, what I didn't do was I didn't put any fortifiers in this. Now I understand there's like acrylic polymer that you can put into the mix, and there's also fibers, like acrylic fibers that you can put into the mix. I don't know if that's necessary, but I think it makes it stronger. Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to use this mix. I'm sort of committed to it now. I've got enough on hand to do all of my countertops. Yeah, so I think that this is going to work out pretty good. I'm actually quite impressed with this. This is actually poured with no reinforcing bar in it, but I am going to put rebar in it, and I am going to put some steel mesh. So I think it's going to be fine. I don't even mind this. The more I look at this, you know, this textured top, it's got, you know, I could probably have troweled it a bit smoother, but even if it only turns out like this is fine. You know, I can set anything on it that stands up. It's not tippy, you know, stuff like that, you know. I don't have any problem with it at all. I think it's actually a good look. I like the color. I may not pour it as thick, maybe just a little thinner than that, but I think I'm going to go with this. I like that stuff. This is only, like I say, it's been less than 24 hours since I poured this. It's already quite hard. You know, it would take probably up to a month for it to fully cure. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead with using this product and pour them in place. I've decided. I'm not going to be able to, by myself, I'm not going to be able to pour them, you know, on the floor and then lift them in place and turn them over, you know. So, you know, I could get a hand, I could get a helper, you know, if I wanted to, but I'm usually pretty independent. So I'm going to try and do this in place with this side up. So basically pour it into a form and use the top surface. Okay, that's all for now. Look for this countertop project to take place on my channel in the next bit. And thanks for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, it would be a really good time to subscribe right now. I really appreciate all of my subscribers so far. Thank you very much. Make a comment if you like down below, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.